Hey guys, I hope you are doing well. In today's video, we are going to discuss about Salesforce integration and how to integrate Salesforce with NASA's API. So get on to it.
Okay, so first of all, let's understand what is integration. So, integration, as the word itself suggests, is integrating two systems. Salesforce integration means integrating Salesforce with another system. It could be AWS, it could be an ERP system, it could be any system for that matter. Um, you can integrate Salesforce with any other system, and that's called Salesforce integration. So, in this particular video, we will be seeing how we can integrate Salesforce with NASA's Open API and seeing it in action, and how, what are the different terminologies that we um, use to when we are doing integration. First of all, I have this NASA's Open API website open. You can just go to Google and type in NASA's API, and it will, the first link, that is this one, just open this one. Okay, so here is the API portal of NASA, and you can see, first of all, you need to authenticate yourself. And let's see first of all the different type of APIs that we have here. So for example, let's go through this one, APOD, astronomy picture of the day. So it will give us an image whenever we hit this particular API endpoint. So what does that endpoint word mean? It means that this is an endpoint. So it's just an URL, right? And we call it as endpoint URL. So let's copy this one and paste it in our browser to see what we get, right? So our browser, whichever browser you have, will do a get request whenever you are hitting any website, any resource. It will do a get request from that website. So it says API key is missing, right? No key API key was supplied. So what does this API key mean? It means that you cannot just directly access this endpoint URL. You have to supply some sort of authentication or some sort of API key. This key acts as an authentication here, right? You need to authenticate yourself that you are actually authenticated user who has the access to go through this endpoint URL. We have another example here with the demo key. Let's open this one and see this, see what it displays us. So here you see we have this API key equals demo key. Demo key is I think they have embedded something in the demo key, that's why it's showing us this content. So this content that you see, it's in JSON format. So we have different formats while displaying the response, right? So one is XML and one is JSON. So this one is in JSON. How we can identify that? You see this is separated out with commas, and so see, the JSON one will be like this, right? It will have like an object type of format, and the XML will be like an HTML sort of format, right? It will have this XML version and everything. And JSON version is like the simply it's like comma separated, right, with different parameters that we have. So this one is JSON, and let's see what different attributes we have. We have date, and then we have explanation, right? And apart from that, we also have the HD URL and the URL. So let's open this. Let's try to open this one. So it opens up image of the whatever the image for that particular day this NASA has planned to show us. So it shows us that particular image. Okay, so in this project, what we'll be doing is we will be hitting this endpoint and try to see what is the image of that particular day, and also what is the explanation and also the title, right, for basically this particular thing in Salesforce, right? We will be integrating Salesforce with this NASA's API. Okay, so here you see we have this query parameters. So for example, see here we have this particular endpoint, right? This is our URL. So this is a part of the HTTP request, and then we have the apod, and apod is the API that we are trying to hit. Along with the API key, we have this question mark, then the API key is demo key, right? And whenever we want to pass the parameters into this endpoint URL, we will be using an ampersand symbol with the date and start date. So don't worry, I'll be showing you everything in action. So I'm just trying to explain you what these parameters and everything mean here, right? So let's see, now whenever you want to integrate Salesforce with, we will be using HTTP class. So we have this HTTP class in Salesforce. Let me just copy a sample code from it. Okay, let me try to hit the endpoint that we just saw, right, using our HTTP class. Okay, you can learn about more about this in the developer guide, Salesforce developer guide. So basically this is firstly creating a HTTP class, then a request and a response that we get by sending the request. Okay, so the method here, the set method is our get method, and the set endpoint, the endpoint that we'll be setting is um, our endpoint from here. Okay, let's try with this. So our string URL will be the endpoint, the URL endpoint. Okay, so let's try to hit the API apod endpoint, and this is basically setting the endpoint, and this method is get. How do I know that it is get? Because I just told you that whenever our browser hits an endpoint, it's a get request, and here you can also see that the HTTP request is a get request, in fact. Okay, so just set the method to get, and these things, if you just skip it out, that's fine also. And simply let's send this request. Okay, and instead of returning it, I'll just show it in the debug. Let's try to hit this endpoint now. Okay, we have our error here which says that this is a callout exception, and this says unauthorized endpoint. So whenever you're trying to access any endpoint from Salesforce, you have to make Salesforce aware that this is a authorized endpoint that you're trying to access from the system. So to do that, you need to go to remote site settings, and provide the URL, endpoint URL. So this is the base URL, let's just provide that. Okay, now let's try to hit this again and see what do we get. Okay, so we got our response, that is this body. Okay, this is our body, so which means that it's working fine. Now let's try to build a application where you can show the users whoever are logging into Salesforce the daily image that we get from NASA and the title along with the explanation for it. Okay, so in that case, what do we need to do? We just need to copy this HTTP class that we have and create a new class. In this, let's create a method. Okay, now that our method is there, So you see we are still using a demo key. Okay, let's fix that and try to get our own key so that we can actually make this call out from Salesforce. Okay, how you can get it? You can just go to this generate API key. Okay, and fill in your name, last name, and email, and once you hit sign up it will give you your API endpoint. I've done that, so let me just grab that and grab the API key. Okay, this is my API key. Let's use. Okay, once you have your API key, right, um, you can reference it in your Apex class. So when using your endpoint URL, you have to also make use of this API key. Uh, Otherwise the callout will not work. Also, let's see the status. Okay, so we have something called get status code. Let's try to run this and see whether it's working or not. Okay, let's try to run this. So our status is 200 now. 200 meanings everything's okay, and the response is also okay, and this is our body that we got. Now what we need to do is we need to segregate out the from this JSON response we need to segregate out these different things like date, explanation, along with the title, image, of course. So how can we do that? To show us all the different things that we have in JSON, let's build one LWC component, and in that LWC component we will be showing the image along with other attributes of this JSON response that we got. We'll be creating a LWC component, but I'll be not going into much detail into it because this is an integration, Salesforce integration video. So let me just quickly show you how and what does the LWC component contain, right? Along with the changes that we need to do in this particular Apex class. First of all, we need to make it Aura enabled. Also, let's make it cacheable true so that we can use our wire method to reference this particular method. So here I have this particular LWC component that I have created called NASA Live API. In this, what I've done is simply I've uh, reference this particular class, okay, which we just created, NASA daily dot show image. So I'm just wiring the method here, and with these attributes error and data. So in the HTML file, I have this template if true directive. If the data is there, that means we do have the data. So we'll just be displaying the date, title, and the explanation for it. Along with it, I have one button, right? I have one button called as view HD image. When it is clicked on, it will show in a new tab the HD image for daily NASA's image. When a user clicks on this view HD image, it will show this particular URL, that is the HD URL, this .data.hd URL. Where I'm getting this HD URL, it's actually a part of this JSON, right? This is the HD URL. This is 1080 pixels, and the standard one is like 960 pixels. So we'll be getting this image and showing it in a new tab whenever the user clicks on that button. So let's see this in action. Let's try to add our component here. Okay, just make sure that you are returning a string from this method so that it could be shown on the LWC component. Return the get body part. So only do this if the status code is 200, otherwise throw an error, right? If the status code is 200, then do this, else throw new or handled exception, failed to load the NASA API. See this in action. Okay, so here you can see the date is there and the title along with an explanation whatever we got from the NASA's API, along with view and HD image, with this standard image being shown also, right? So if you see here, I have this template if true directive. If the data.url is there, then it will show image. Otherwise, and also along with it, I have a button called view HD image. When clicked on, it will show HD image in a new tab. Perfect. So it's working fine. Great. Awesome. Let's modify this and see what was the image that NASA had when it was our birth date, right? So how can we do that? So to do that, I have this lighting input, right, which is of type date, and you can select your birth date. When clicked on this button, it will it will fetch the data and show us our response, show us the image that was present on that particular day. Okay, so let me just uncomment this. And in our Apex class, we have to do make some changes so that it shows only that particular date's image. Okay, so create one more. Let's create one more method called public static, and it will also return a string. Now the string will accept a parameter called as birthday, and where we will be getting this parameter from? It will be getting populated from the LWC component. Okay, let's keep all these things the same. Just we need to make some changes. That is apart after the API key, we need to also pass in the date. Okay, and how do I know that we need to pass this? You just go to the NASA's endpoint, and here you will see the date which defaulted to today. So whenever we were hitting this API, it took this parameter. It's just that the default date was today's date, so we'll be populating it based on our birthdays. So whenever you want to add extra parameters, you can do that using this ampersand and the actual date that we get as a parameter here. So let's see this if this actually works. And make sure the date form so make sure the date format is actually what they expect, that is YYYMMDD. Let's execute this highlighted part. Just need to add one equals here as well. Oops. Okay, so yeah, the status code is 200, which means this method is also working, and here is an explanation and all those things, right, that we get. So let's reference this in our LWC. Okay, so we need to make that as or enabled, otherwise it will throw us this error. Now let's try to deploy it. Okay, deployed successfully. um, yeah, let's see this if it's working. Let's comment this out, we don't need it for now. Okay, so let's put the date. Okay, on that particular day, the image that they had was of Jupiter's moon, ring, and clouds. So yeah, you can put any date, play around with it, okay, and see what was the image on your birth date, right? It's pretty cool to play around with NASA's open API. They have provided a really good set of APIs. You can play around with different APIs as well. For a few of them I found interesting were this Mars rover photos. So if you go through these examples that we have and open up the one of the photos that they have for it. So let me just show you one. So these are pretty cool images of from the Mars, right? So you can go through it and build your own Salesforce LWC application by passing these parameters along with the API key that we got. So yeah, play around with it, and I hope you like this video. Do let me know if you need clarification or if you have any queries or any doubts. That's it for today. I'll meet you in the next one. Bye bye.